Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mighty. My topic is theories that explains the contemporary gender. You can write that down. Theories that explains the contemporary gender. Okay, good. The theory is a coherent group of tested general propositions commonly regarded as correct or that can be used as principles for explanation or prediction of phenomena. It helps you to explain things. It helps you to sort of look at things or predict the things. And gender is the state of being man or female, as our society regards gender to be. Though most of the time, when you look at gender, or which is the patriarchy and society, people would look at feminism. So feminist theory is one of the major contemporary and sociological theories which analyzes the analysis of women and men in the society. And that's why I say that most of the time when we talk about gender, it quickly goes to the feminism. So its theory, it analyzes the status of women and men in society with the purpose to better the women's life, as the equality, as the United Nations wishes to state the human rights and the gender equality and other foreign policies that also talks about that. Then I looked at the liberal feminism, which is the change. This is happening these days, whereby there's in our present society, liberal, what is being preached by international organizations such as the United Nations, that we need to look at the women's perspective, and that's why many countries, would all the time would try to include, women. Like if women have an organization, they will include in order to hear the perspective of women. Because some of you might be wondering this, this topic that I have of theory of contemporary gender, and how does it fit in this program, in this course of international relations, and the theories that are applicable, that are applied in that. Is because I'm going to go back and I'll say that when we talk about liberal, and that international organizations such as United Nations talks about equality and how we can include the women in order to hear their perspective and how they can better their lives as well. And World Bank says that United Nations in terms of international policy. Then there is also, you have different, I'm going to reflect. I'm going to keep reflecting on that so that you don't find my presentation peculiar. That each time, as I said, that each time we talk about gender, it's always about the issues, women issues, woman and girl issues. And then we have other actors, such as, I think, Alice Walker, the black woman from America, that also, she was a black feminist. So I used this thing of black feminism, our theory, where she was, fighting and to argue that black women, the freedom of black women, and that also, as I said, black women, a group of them, and these other black feminists, such as Alice Walker, getting to the issues of woman and girl, but at the same time, fighting, getting the identity of the whole gender issues. Then I used the other one is new institutional theory, especially in why I'm using this theory. Very importantly, I looked at the whole thing of international relations and the theory as well, because in the policy making, I said earlier on, look, I'm reflecting there again, and implementation. Equality is very important, and in all sectors, in all areas, such as education, such in employment, in the working places, and as I said, institutional is institutional, just as it is as a government, as a national state. And that's what I'm talking about. That, and earlier on, I talked about the international system of how I'm connecting the theories with international relations and international system. And this time around, I'm saying that new institutional theory helps us to understand, especially in terms of bureaucracy, in terms of the government, in engaging women and girls, in terms of their education and unemployment. And there are scholars as feminists of institutions. There are many other people, organizations, that of women that have tried as much as they can to fight the nuclear wars. I think there was a time that America wanted to engage into nuclear war. It should have been maybe 1980s, somewhere between 1980s and 1990s. So almost 500,000 women marched in order to stop, Americans to take, to attack any country with a nuclear or perish. That was the case. So, and there are groups of women from different countries. They form their own organizations from Europe, Australia, and North America to explore the interplay between feminist approaches. And that is why I said the theories and how I connected that to international relations so that it doesn't raise peculiarity in us. That's why I'm connecting the theories and international relations and on these gender issues. So it's because you see these people with a public opinion, with opinions in trying to engage women and power. And on the same issue of new institutional theory, I'm going to talk about the bureaucratic relationship and change of institutional institutions such as the states. Because all the time you do have different governments, different leadership in governments, and each one that comes has got his own things, especially in the policy formulations and how they engage with women. So that was not very clear enough, I know. International roles of women. How do we now put this gender issue and the theories that I've talked about, and what roles have women played? And when I talk about roles, it's because we're talking about a gender issue once again. The roles of women that have played, especially on the international agenda that I've taken, is because we have women that have participated, especially on the peacekeeping. When you go to other countries, you find that the soldiers goes to other countries and there they meet women, and women have played a role. You might wonder why, these women are so important when we put them, when the soldiers, take women. Sometimes it happens by force in other countries whereby women are, taken or snatched and taken to the camps, and that role that I've played. And also a very important international role that women have played. It shows in recent event that took place when President Robert Mugabe was supposed to have participated or taken a part in EU summits. And they had their own protocol where they said, you don't bring your woman. So Robert Mugabe made a decision not to go because of around that issue, but it could be other issues as well. And President Zuma did the same thing, but he sent his representative there, and he did not go as well because he could have gone with the women. So you can see how I just picked up something that I think the forms of gender, and especially sexism or feminism, changes. You see, for Europeans it's okay; they can go there by themselves. But for the leaders in Africa, it's you can see that they had to go with their own women. But when they started from doing that, they did not participate. And another gender issue that I can talk about, especially on international issues, is women are starting. That's why now it's called the theory of contemporary gender, because women are participating in many positions. I'll give you an example. There's a Joyce Banda that now is the president. So it means that these issues of gender will take a different turn. We're going to start with, from Liberia, And also, Joyce Banda has been also talking about the woman and a girl when she was, I think she still is, the chairman of SEDEC. So you can see how important this issue of theories of contemporary gender, how important it is. I said ambassadors' wives as well. I touched on that. And escorting heads of the state, I talked about that. Then I looked at something very interesting, which is a psychoanalysis theory. And though psychoanalysis is a bit of broad, because in psychoanalysis, it talks about the psychology part of it, the personality that we inherit, the experience, the way we do things in terms towards women and the girl, unconsciously, the way, yeah. Then there's another issue. I'm going, this is very interesting. It was interesting. Gender fetish theory. I'm calling it a theory, okay? Why I'm calling it fetish is because earlier on, I was talking about that each time we talk about women, we talk about gender, we always talking about women all the time. And this is very interesting because why I touched this kind of theory that probably we're not aware of, because you might ask yourself what kind of theory is this. I said the gender fetish theory is the attraction between masculinity and feminism, and on the issue of gender intersexual and gender homosexuality. I don't know if this is appropriate. I'm going to talk about it, okay? That's why it could be a very interesting issue. In Africa, most of the time when we talk about gender, what comes to mind to probably the majority of people is Africa, is penetration that comes first. We don't talk about it. Because it's supported by other writers. It's supported by other writers. Because since we're talking about the theory and trying to understand our future, Mark Lechner talked about the forms of gender, how it differs from country to country. And he tried to go deeper to talk about how we regard gender. And in certain issues, maybe we cannot talk about them. Okay. Then another one is by Julia Kristeva. I don't know how to pronounce that. Her theory was called objection theory, which means the unhappiness, the unhappiness of matriarchy society plus, patriarchy society. So Julia Kristeva touches on politics, which is the society, the culture of women are being excluded, by patriarchy society. Still, we expect women to have an identity, especially in our society, so that the society, the patriarchy and maternal come into being. And when I say comes into being, what I mean is, I'll try to censor it, because it's a bit sensitive. When I said identity, women in many rural areas, you find that a woman is expected to play a role, and other roles are those ones of being patriarchy and matriarchy society, people being together and being a sort of, okay, fine. The other theory is called sexuation theory. And sexuation theory, most of us, we don't know, we're not aware of. And I came, when I was, doing my research on this, it's by Jacques Lancani. It says that women are not complementary, which we always assume, especially in Africa, that they are opposite sex. We are opposite sex women. He says that they are supplementary, which is additional. So that now starts raising a question, of women and why we should use different theories in order to find out, or in order to explain and to be able to predict, the issues of gender and gender in terms of the woman and the girl. And you can see how this theory, sexuation theory, by Jacques Lacan, which is to state. Then the other one is, like by Cynthia Enlow, is feminist consciousness theory. She says that issues of women and girls, such as women in leadership, it's very important, because what she means is feminist consciousness is to try to be inclusive when it comes to women in education, considering of the roles that they have played, which I mentioned earlier on, in international politics. She says that it's very important that we start looking at these issues of gender and including them in international politics in all forms of engagement. Then the other one, I think I'm about to finish. Okay, good. The other one is called separatist feminism. This is a form of feminism that does not support heterosexual relationships. A belief that sexual disparities between men and women issues are unresolvable. These issues, as you can see, that if we take them from different angle, try to explain and try to see, to look at things. For over the years, there have been many women in the literary society, literature society, drama society, movie society, whatever, where women were not included in the leadership, in the management, and things like that. It still happens now, that women are separated from the roles that men are playing. And the women feels that certain women that even went to the extent that they wished not to get married at all, because how the issues of gender has touched them, and they feel that men cannot make positive contributions to the feminist movement, according to their observations. So my recommendations, ladies and gentlemen, is more scholars to bring more gender issue concerns in international relations or international politics, and to bring more theories that will be able to explain and solve, and to begin questioning the differences between feminism in terms of because I'm thinking that it happens also in these gender issues, especially on women. It happens in the race, it happens in the class, it happens in the ethnicity, it happens in the nationality, it happens in the age, and intersection of gender. Because you can find that women can be discriminated, maybe through some other race being racist to the person, or in the differences of the age, towards women. It can be nationality, say that this woman is from Zimbabwe now, look what's happening, whatever. So we need to start looking. That's one of my recommendations, that we need to look at all forms of gender, especially differences between feminism. Now, this is why it is important to integrate the international relations and politics into these gender issues in gender theory, especially contemporary gender theories. Working class are exploited, and the capitalist mode of production across the world are exploiting women. Now, I'll give you an example on that recommendation. In countries like Lesotho, there are many women that are working in factories that making Levi jeans, that cross the border and go to America. And those women are getting very little money. Last time, I checked, sorry for taking it to that personal agenda, some women were getting 400 and something MLUT. The other ones were getting 600, others were getting 800 MLUT. To make many, amount of jeans per day. That month, 400, 600 per month, 800 per month. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm thinking that is exploitation. Look at other forms of gender, there's exploitation. So we need to look, the other scholars need to look at that. So those are one of my recommendations, ladies and gentlemen, that how I integrated that gender contemporary into international relations, so that we make recommendations and so that these issues are explained and to be able to predict.
Okay, let me start with your recommendation. When you look at the issue of exploitation, that the capitalist system
is exploiting women. Then to what extent then you look at men? Men are also being exploited by capitalist system. Is it the system itself that is wrong? Or the perspective that women are being exploited to the advantage of men? Then the whole essence of issue of gender equality. I think we must look at it that it should be equality in terms of opportunity. Because we made reference to the issue of when it comes to politics. Assuming you have 10 positions, you are saying that 5 should go to women, 5 should go to men. Have you ever considered that those women, do they really have the quality, let's say the credentials, to fill that 5 positions? If 2 has the credentials, are you going to pick them because you want equality in terms of number that they will be in that position? What happened to outreach? So more or less, I'm not totally against feminist gender issue, but what I'm saying is that it should be more or less in terms of opportunity, but not in terms of number. Because I've noticed at different places, people argue that where you have 5 men, there must be 5 women. Even though within South African context, the debate that you must give a certain percentage of numbers to women in parliament. But have you ever sit down and consider, do they really have the technical know-how to manage those positions? Or you just want to put them there because they are women? Then what happened to output? But more or less, we should rather focus on opportunity. That if men were given this opportunity, women must also be given the opportunity. But not in terms of number. That is how we should look. Then, especially when you look at African context, how do we address the issue of gender and also looking at African culture? Are we trying to import the Eurocentric view about women and men into African culture? Are we trying? It is going to be a total distortion of African culture. And I'm not saying we cannot take something, we should not allow women, giving them the opportunity. But what happened to African culture? Must we totally embrace this whole essence of it? Has, for instance, look at homes now, different homes. You see, it has a devastating effect on different marriages. When it comes to the issue of gender, it has, we must be realistic. True. They said, I'm working, you are working. Why don't we just go to Nando's? Why don't we just do this? It has its, I'm not saying it's not fair that there must be equality, because there's dynamism in the system itself. But to what extent do we totally embrace this whole essence of gender? Has it improved the society, African society? It may improve the Western world because there's an individualist system already there. But in our own African culture, you have to help your family, help your extended family, which is not the case with the Western world. But how now with that gender, how will it address the multifaceted problem we have in Africa? So we must sit down. For theory is fine, but how do we apply it into African context to bring about development? These are the issues we need as a young scholar, not just to get it the way it's stated in Europe and plant it in Africa. There are some features of the theory that are relevant, like what I'm saying, and I do. We must not totally rely on in terms of number, but look at in terms of opportunity. Give equal opportunity to men and women, but not in terms of number. Because it's politics, and because you want to win the majority, you are saying that, look, once I become a president, I'm going to give 40% to women, 40% to men. Then what happens? The women, some of them may not be qualified, but because of gender, they are dead. Then what happened to the outputs? How will the dividends of the so-called democracy flow across? You don't see, even though men are not the most corrupt people. Some argue that, look, these days you discover that women are more prudent. I've listened to such argument too, that women are more prudent. But we discover that even though women are more corrupt than men. True.
I can support
No,
that.
it's not true.
It is.
Yeah, you discover that.
It is.
I will give you, I want to throw up the argument now. You discover that some women are even more corrupt than men. So what is the essence of, then this, I'm coming, the so-called gender, even though women are even against the so-called equality, that is why in Africa it cannot work. Within women, there are people against the idea of equality. Simple opinion. Where you have, if you're in terms of number now, look at South Africa. You know you have they have the highest number of women than men in South Africa. True. But yet, if a woman is contesting for a position, majority of the women will vote for a man.
It's true. It's true.
Have you noticed that? So how will the whole essence of equality work if women themselves are against the principle? Yeah.
No, I was saying in South Africa, it's mostly men who do the corruption. Like our government, it's mostly the ministers and the prime minister. Most of them are the ones doing corruption. It's not females, but it's men.
Okay, so let me allow Marty to respond to that before I come to you.
Professor, I think we are missing the point. The corruption is not only at the political level, but it happens that the bulk of the percentage of corruption is in the office. Here at bureaucratic level. Now, when we come to look at who are in the office at the time, majority of women are in the office. Why am I saying this? Is that women have got a sense of family, they are too protective of their own people, and so most of nepotisms, corruptions,
That is taking place in the office.
has taken place due to that type of nature. It's in their nature that I can protect my family no matter what. I will protect them. That's their nature.
So in that, what do you call that?
Now I was talking about political level. I wasn't.
Corruption is corruption.
I was not thinking you guys are talking about.
Look at political level. Have you followed Zuma regime? Some women that were dropped. Why were they dropped?
Many of them.
Why were they dropped?
Corruption. Minister communication.
No, but let's say it's both men and men
There's
and
a total
women.
problem. That means that a woman will go to heaven and come back to make sure that they protect their own. Something like that. Yes. And you find that most of these things happen. Look at Diana Pule. Is it Diana Pule?
Yeah, Dinabuli, yeah.
Yes. She could release millions for the boyfriend. They meet
What
the
do you call that?
boyfriend. I mean,
And go shopping for
What do you
shoes.
call that? Is that not corruption?
Like, okay, look at your country now, Nigeria. Who are doing corruption there?
It's both male and female.
male and female.
At home,
There
mate.
is corruption also there.
Eh?
But there is corruption also in your country.
Yes.
We are not saying South Africa only. We are saying generally that men are.
No, but it's not only women saying, yeah, there I disagree. I don't agree.
You said it's
We are not saying it's women.
We are not saying women only. We are saying both men and women are corrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So even naturally, in the Bible, like in natural aspect, Adam was made before they created Eve. The coming of Eve was when the Eve ate the unforgivable fruit. Naturally, women, we are not, if you look at the corruption aspect, we are always used, like if a president, maybe I'm voting for you, and you want to be a president, you can use a lady to kill you just now. We have the power. It's not about corruption. I think corruption is inside of men and women. Because it's the men that have to plot it before it can be used to
Do you agree with her?
You are correct, women have the power.
Yeah.
But now, in the context of corruption, it's that power that they are using. Corruption.
It's not only planting. Because they can do it themselves without the help of
How do you use
men.
that power?
Yes.
How do you tackle that power? You use it in a negative way, it's going to affect you. But if
To
you
achieve
use
your
it
aims.
in a way of
protecting your own people, not your own self, then it's powerful. It's called power.
If you say men use women, don't you think equally women use men?
Yeah.
Because you've got the power.
Not 100%.
So from this issue of corruption is not a gender issue to me personally. I think it's an individual issue. It's depends on the idiosyncrasies of each and everyone. We cannot take it to be a gender issue because it depends on the way she does her things, which may be different from mine. So I think that we should not take it to be a gender issue.
Okay, let me ask all of you a question now.
No.
When you look at African countries, will you recommend equality of men in everything? That men and women will be equal in terms of number?
No.
It's not possible.
Professor, I think when we come to equality, probably we misunderstand equality. We some African cultures have oppressed women and never given them opportunities to express or come out as women. But they are not always sidelined or put somewhere. You understand? I think if we are saying equality means that give women
Opportunities,
Yes.
not oppressing them and subjecting them to certain things, then it would be understandable. In a sense whereby President Zuma is saying, I quote, in 2020, the South African government or governance should have 50-50 equal whatever. In that way, it makes it a little bit of numbers,
not opportunity.
not of opportunities created. And the ability provides for you to be suitable to occupy a certain space. In a sense that you are able to can do that. But if you look at it in the sense of numbers, it becomes a challenge. Now, gender is partially a subject of debate in so many levels. And now, when we come to a way of implementation in African context, men are created to provide. They are providers. They bring something to their house in terms of security. They provide security in a context of economy, in a context of safety and other things. If you give a man an opportunity to take care of the family, he will. That is why you find most of them that are not married yet, not yet married, not yet this, that. They have got a sense of they bear child, they give women money left, right, and center. That's how they are. And in the long run, should you find that most men are not working, you will find them vulnerable to a sense that the society turns around. Now it becomes something else. It changes the positions. Women are more powerful than men in the context of the South African system. More women are more powerful than men. Why? Because the government says if two people are contesting for a position, men and a woman, and they are equal, they will take a woman simply because they want to advance that thing. But looking at an African point of view, it kills this man who is supposed to provide for his family. And now there is another one going down at the expense of another. Look at it. This woman that is taken up, he is married or she is married to a man who is working. But this one, unfortunately, the woman is not working. Both of them are not working. So it might be, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but it might be some sort of imbalance somewhere, somehow.
I think from your explanation, it means that there's some structural deficiency within how South Africa is trying to promote women within the society. But at the same time, you also see what my perception about when it comes to the issue of gender in Africa. You discover that, look, some women in some African society have misquoted or misinterpreted the idea of gender equality. And they've taken it, look, we are all equal. Some are even, like what he said, some have vowed not to get married because
Yeah.
we are equal. So, and in African culture, you know, you should get married to somebody.
I agree.
Yeah, this is out of. Let's put aside academic. We should be sincere. That
Probably the gentleman that came last year, is it Dr. Forgot his name, to present about South African political science. Probably.
Oh, okay. Dr. Allen.
Dr. Allen, yes. Probably we need us scholars to begin to embark on that type of literature, write about such things, see how African.
From African perspective,
From
not
African
this
perspective.
Eurocentric view
Yes.
about gender equality.
Yes.
We should be sincere. Ask women today, they will tell you, look, what is the sense of getting married? We are equal, I'm earning money, like the point we are trying to raise. If she's in a position, what is the sense of getting married? She can fend for her family, fend for her.
So they get married from people.
So anytime I need a man, I just bring him, then tell him, go out. This is distorting
It's wrong to think like that. Because marriage is
society.
not all about it.
Then the moral dimension of the society is zero.
Morality,
As a man, you cannot even tell, scold your wife that what you are doing is wrong. The next thing is just call police. You are out of the house.
People get married for
But somehow demoralizing.
But this culture
It's not about love.
is only done in the south, in our western country. We are,
The other part of Africa.
yeah, we always under it.
Yeah, it is true. Probably, if you look at South African context, at one level, I always think, do you have that constitution because the whites, they don't want the black to get together? At times, I have different opinion about this issue. Because when you look at it, it has created a lot of immorality within the society. You see, you cannot, as a man, you are not in charge of your home. You cannot, because once you shout too much, the next thing the police is there to pick you out.
Once what?
Even though the children, there's a level you cannot control your children. So, what will be the end product?
Problem.
So, another part of Africa, you see how the culture, but South Africa, you have a different thing entirely.
There's a difference between discipline and abuse. And I think our fellow students here in the education department should do thorough studies about
awareness.
You understand? There is a difference between an abuse and discipline. It is true that when a child is not behaving a certain way, one may just conscientize them that this is not right. You understand? We are not that type of people that will lock them in the room and say they will understand you. No. It's not us. It is not us. We are African.
But
we do things in a different way. But these white people want us to say, if your child is doing this to you, you lock them in the room as a sign of discipline. What is that?
They're listening to music.
But I mean, it is high time that
even they themselves, they lock themselves in their rooms. Have you not seen that? Children in the
white people.
I mean, our now generation children, they don't want to be with family. They would lock themselves in their rooms with iPads and iPads and I this and I that. So it makes it not to be even punishment to them. I have this to say because I have experienced that. When I spoke to my daughter one day, she tells me that if you touch me, I'm going to go to the police.
You see,
That's true. My daughter. She tells me, my own daughter. She tells me, if you touch me, bruh, please. At that time, I'm striving to get her not to go to the school that I don't want for her. That school is not good. It's situated somewhere. I don't know if you know that 2 years ago, there was a school that was named that more than 17 matric students were pregnant.
What's the name of the school?
Barolo.
Oh, Barolo.
Barolo. It was in the newspaper. It was in the newspaper. She went to that school without my permission, the father. So it becomes a problem. So I found it very difficult to discipline my daughter because it is not easy. It is not easy. So South African law or South African Constitution, it's that one that I think what people from outside would say is that no, it's a very good constitution.
One of the best constitutions in the world.
One of the best constitutions, but in my own perspective, it has got loopholes. Whereby, a lot of loopholes, whereby Americans want us to look at it as it is good, when they know they are going to benefit. Why? Multinational corporations are here to stay. HIV, AIDS material, and all these things will be distributed left and right. You understand?
Okay.
So, multinational pharmaceutical companies are here to bring all these ARVs and all that in a view of us letting our children run helter skelter, do whatever they want to do as they want in their own time. And you meet somebody and tell you that I met your daughter. Oh, boys are going up and down on her.
Oh.
Things like that, and you cannot say anything to that person. You cannot say anything to your own daughter. It becomes a sad story. Our constitution needs to be re-looked at, or some policies need to be, or acts just need to be redone.
So as a young scholar, what is the way forward?
The way forward would be, we have to begin to create dialogues, write about such things, use media, use platforms that we can use in terms of us getting to the bottom of this. I mentioned the fact that there is a difference between discipline and abuse. Things like that need to be ironed out. The government should know, the government should learn to understand that if you are saying you are abusing a child, means that you are going beyond so point. But for you to say that you are disciplining a child, it's at the certain level. And in that way, it will open the eyes of many people who wrote those laws. Remember that we are living in a society whereby we are failed by our own leaders to incorporate us in, or to bring us to equal footing with other developed countries.
So, I think in terms of this constitution guidance South Africa, because and their human rights, in terms of social ground, like what he was saying, imagine just a case study of Nigeria in our country. Like a child, a woman will give birth to a daughter and you pay for it. Another person will want to. So, likewise what you were saying, this abuse, will a parents that give birth to a child want to abuse the child? I think that statement should be enhanced when you are dealing with a family issue. There should be a discipline. This abuse thing, there would not be a mother that give birth and carry a daughter for 9 months. I want to abuse the daughter. What would be the end? So I think the discipline should be taken like seriously in a high level.
We should be able to differentiate between discipline and abuse.
In the past regime, let me give them.
Okay, no problem. I think it is high time that we as Africans do away with Western ways, because clearly they haven't contributed any positive thing to our cultures. Instead, we've lost our identity. And therefore, I think, even, in the past, when a boy and a girl meet each other, they had to get married. Like, I know in my culture, like, if you impregnate a girl, you're going to get married.
Definitely.
And now we have your social grants for single mothers, because the man doesn't support. And that perpetuates now pregnancy, because one girl would want to have 5 kids, because now 200 rand will be multiplied by 5. And that is wrong. That is a very wrong way of looking at it. I think it's high time that we go back to our roots, because that's what constructed our society and morals. Because now we've lost that. If now I can tell my dad the way to get over, he wants to discipline me, I've lost the fact that he's superior than I am, and I'm his daughter. But I actually look at it in those way like, no, if ever I'm gonna get beaten, I've got rights. I can go to police and complain about it, and that's not the way to go around it. Yeah, I think it's high time we go back to African roots.
Now I think we must elect for a new leadership, because they are the ones who came with this. Who came with this right.
So which leaders are you proposing? Propose for us, let us see.
Might is here.
I disagree.
DA, I could, for my own, for me
What?
anyway, not for other people.
How do you
For
think
me.
DA will change the situation?
No, white people are disciplined. So
But
I think things will be better with it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, sir.
What
You know what the thing
is
is?
what we call philosophy inductive conclusion.
Mm.
You cannot, because you know some few whites who are disciplined, then you just make a general conclusion that because this white is disciplined, therefore all whites are disciplined.
And what we're
That's a
saying,
fallacy.
the initiative, they are brought from white. It brought to our back, look at our centuries, when our step grandmothers and grandfathers were born. All these things were not here. We initiate them from the white you're talking about. So making a white the president is more encouraging, more indisciplinary thing.
And to me, what I was really confused.
So I think in this kind of a situation, pointing fingers is not gonna produce any good. But as individuals, you have to point out me and myself, what am I doing wrong? If ever I am influenced too much by the West, then I should go back to being the African child with African morals and values, not maybe be pointing out this person, this white person, or that black person. Because even black people are wrong to some extent. Our leaders now are black, but they're not doing anything different from the white people and the white people themselves. So yeah, I think it's about us looking into us as people.
I think it has to start from the household.
Yes.
Professor, the previous regime of Botswana in the Northwest Province, the police knew how to enforce law. Law enforcement was number one. You would not find any child during the school time walking about. They would take you, whip you, sit you inside the school. Is that abuse?
No, that's discipline.
That's discipline. When a child
In African culture, that is discipline. But in the contemporary time, they will tell you that that's abuse.
It's an abuse. That's right. We came across so many elderly people that we would not greet. And the man will call you, come here boy, whip you. Why don't you greet an elderly when you see them? So there was so many things that we had to do. Even today, I can't pass anybody
without saying
hello. Sometimes I feel like probably I'm like the only guy who greets everybody in the school. In the university.
That is African culture.
That's the culture. But now, even when I'm washing my car somewhere in my residence there, it's a flag. Young people will pass. And when they are just a few meters after passing me, I will greet them. Making sure that they know that they are doing the right thing, the wrong thing, not to greet me as they pass by. I think an African child should be equipped with morals. And in that way, our moral fiber, our social construction would be much better than the way it is today. But now, it takes a lot of, I don't know, probably Ponso might be right when she says leadership change.
Yeah, because ANC members are the one who came with this right. Before, there were no rights. Before.
Okay, let's.
Yeah, things were